Hey, everybody, welcome in. It's Octa, it's Tuesday, and it's been a rough 24 hours. We'll touch on some of the roughness. Yesterday was an incredible day. We had live during DCA the announcement that the Sol ETF was approved. And of course, Sol goes down. It did go up initially, now it's gone down, but everything's gone down. And then we had tokenization of stocks happen all over the planet at the same time, which is pretty incredible. One thing I've been waiting for. And we have a lot of rumors about MicroStrategy being added to the S&P 500. Nothing there on that yet. We don't know. They take their time in deciding. And then we had other crazy news too, which we'll touch on briefly later. The question is, what happened in June? And what could happen in July? That's what I'm going to try and address here. Big thank you to the mods in the chat and everybody else. And welcome to a quick whip around the world. This one's called Inflows and Stability. It should be instability, by the way. Not, I must have typed something wrong. Anyhow, instability, inflows and instability. Anyway, thank you, DBF. And this is not financial advice. And shout out to Christopher Stubbs. Thank you. Joined Patreon last week and learning a lot. Good. I'm the fire hose. A lot to do every single day. Now, let's talk about the ugly news first. The elephant in the room. We have spat number 2, fight number 2 between Trump and Elon Musk again. And Elon feels very strongly about deficits and the big, beautiful bill. And very strongly indeed, he doesn't want it to be approved. It got approved. It's happening. But I'm hoping smarter minds will prevail. Sometimes people have emotional outbursts. Sometimes people are on the spectrum and let things go, and they shouldn't. I try and bite my tongue all the time. But anyway, per Cathie Woods, and it's very comforting to hear from Aunt Cathie, as I call her, this too shall pass. I said this too shall pass last time around. This time around was a little bit tricky. There's still a lot of people, like shout out to Cern Basher, Joe Bakhti, and others, think it's all drama. Just people speaking publicly on social. But anyway, fingers crossed, it'll all be a nothing burger. And deficits will continue. We're way beyond the point of no return. The only way we can grow out is with robots. And that's what Elon should be focused on, not politics. Anyway, that was the ugly news. The bad news. Oh, by the way, Dazzlet stock took a dip today, but it's holding strong and the numbers are tomorrow. But another crazy news too. The SEC delayed staking for Bitwise Spot ETH ETF. So something is wrong with the Bitwise filing for their ETH ETF, which is strange because yesterday it was approved. The Rex Osprey Sol staking ETF was approved, and that's launching tomorrow, everybody. I'll be watching what happens with the flows, but it is bonkers what's going on with that particular chain. Absolutely incredible. The data doesn't lie, but the market doesn't reflect the data at all by any stretch of the imagination. Anyway, we'll just have to watch gradually. There'll be at least 8 more of these staking ETFs coming for Solana. And hopefully, TradFi will be able to analyze data and maybe check out some of the data we have in the SCP profiler. It's all there, everybody. Clear as day. And Jupiter continued to ship new products, new capabilities. Their platform is exceptional. You can do everything, swap, perp trade, you name it. Now you can trade stocks. But they're coming out with another banger soon, and that's called Jupiter Lend. Jupiter Lend, you can put your assets to work and borrow against your assets. Now, the scary thing about this, the reason this is in the bad news category, everybody, we're all about risk management here, is they will give you up to 90% back loan to value on your assets. Okay, don't ever do that. Don't ever go beyond 50% because your assets can be very volatile, especially crypto. If they swing 10%, you will get liquidated. They will take all your money, and you know that's going to happen. So do not ever in a million years think of going 90% loan to value. This is what these guys are offering. Don't do it. It's nice to have. Maybe if you are 99.999% sure you're at the bottom of a market, yeah, then maybe do like $15,500 Bitcoin, $8 Sol, that type of thing. But do not do that at the top of a bull market at all. Okay, very dangerous. And shout out to Siri. Siri never really has worked. You can maybe get Siri to remind you to do something in 10 minutes, as far as their AI goes. However, in their plan to try and make Siri work after all these years, they are going to outsource the brain to either Anthropic or OpenAI. Hopefully it's Anthropic. That would be good. But fingers crossed, Siri might work again soon. GQ Trader, thank you as well for coming, and DBF and Sean D and TND and K8 and everything here. That's the Siri news. And I think Apple is one of those companies that have just not found a way to innovate. I've mocking them for years and years. And here we are. They used to be a company that built everything at home. Not anymore. They are out of innovation. Now, the good news. Thank goodness. I hate getting through the ugly and the bad news, but I like to front load the pain, especially because of all the pain we've been through in the last 24 hours. At least I've been through. Anyway, it's a strange world. And by the way, stay tuned for the meme of the day at the very end. It's hilarious, and it's very appropriate for the last 24 hours. First of all, fear and greed. Not bad. We're back up to 63. Last week, if I recall, we were 55 or 54. I can't remember exactly, but it was either 55 or 54. So it's up a lot. People are greedy again. And I still love this reggae Bob Marley Jamaican flag on the bottom. That's why I like to share this one. Crypto over the last 7 days versus Bitcoin. Sol beat it. Tron beat it, etc. Yeah, things are down, but some things are down hard. Dark red on XLM and ADA, etc. But it's good to see a tiny little bit of spark on Sol outperforming Bitcoin. But Bitcoin has been pretty rough, actually. Let me pop up my trading view and see exactly what's going on. And the miners have been quite strong too. But Bitcoin's down 1,400 today, about 105,800. Solana, 147 bucks. Nothing too great. Anyway, in terms of melting fiat, actually, Bitcoin's now lower by $700 than it was when this shot was taken. ETH down around 2,400, etc. People are still clinging on to XRP. Madness. Anyway, somebody asked me today, said, my friend has a big bag of XRP. How do I convince him to sell? I said, we don't convince anybody to do anything, but just take the fully diluted market cap and divide it by the number of daily active users on the platform, and then compare it to any other industry. And that's the way you analyze value or lack thereof. It's not hard, everybody. Do a little bit of research, a little bit of calculation, and boom, there's your answer. So yeah, a rough week. But the point I'm trying to get to here, and sorry for rambling today, it's been a sleepless night. Sleepless in Seattle. Never saw the movie, but sounds like my night last night, is we are setting up potentially for a good July. And that's the big story here. Let me explain why July could be good. First of all, the fund flows are through the roof. Everybody, they continue. We are now the 11th consecutive week of very strong inflows. $17 billion. Okay. In 11 weeks. That's bonkers. That's on track to, if it continues, of course, smoke 2024. And we go back to look, analogs like the gold ETF when it launched. The first year was weak. The second year was stronger. And the third year was stronger again. I'm wondering, could that happen with Bitcoin? And we know the amount of snacking that's going on players like MicroStrategy and MetaPlanet. By the way, there's apparently a little bit of a gauntlet between those two. No other treasury company can ever catch MicroStrategy. There'll only ever be one. They have nearly 600,000 Bitcoin. But a lot of people, a lot of companies are joining late, very late as well. But that is crazy. And despite all the weird stuff going on in the world, the flows are steady. People are front running something, whether it's a US SBR or nation states buying. It's crazy. I'll show you some more data that supports that too. In terms of flows, you can see here, another 2.2 billion. Bitcoin sucks in about 83% of the flow, 17% to other assets. Short Bitcoin investments, 2.9 million year to date. Solana pulled in about 5.3, XRP 10.6. What are they thinking? SWI 1.4, Cardano 700,000. Short Bitcoin is negative, which is a bullish sign. And Chainlink 800,000. Shout out to Chainlink. Now running on Solana as well, by the way. A little bit on the narratives. NFT applications had the best month compared to all the different narratives. Bonkers. I thought NFTs died. Apparently not. Store value is number 2, things like Bitcoin, etc. And Bitcoin up 1.4% for the month. Positive, not bad. ETH down 4.1% for the month. This, by the way, is the last 30 days starting basically the whole month of June, pretty much. And fear and greed for stocks, 66. Again, nearly back in line with the crypto fear and greed. And let's look at June returns. This is an interesting little chart here. I'm going to spend a bit of time on as to exactly what's going on. But Bitcoin did hold steady. I did say June is typically a weak month. It delivered below average returns relative to the past 12 months, which have been bonkers. But most stock indices delivered above average returns over the same period. Now, why do we care about this? Because, let me try and explain in my caveman terms. So copper, smoking hot, up nearly 10% for the month. Oil, up nearly 8% for the month. Japanese stocks rebounded, probably driven by Metaplanet, up 7%. MSCI emerging stocks, good. S&P 500 up 5%. And Bitcoin up about 3.8%. Shanghai, China is back too, up 2%. NASDAQ 100 less than 2%. And gold up about 0.3%. Ethereum down 4%. And Euro stocks down the same as Ethereum. Not to cast any shade on European stocks, but the point of this is the risk on assets did really well. Maybe Bitcoin lags. Maybe Bitcoin will catch up in July. That's a big part of what I believe will happen, because in some days, Bitcoin is risk on, in other days, it's risk off. Some days it's considered a NASDAQ stock. Some days it's considered gold, digital gold. You don't know what flavor you're going to get, but June seasonally is typically bad. July is better, a lot better. So I'm bullish for July. A little bit on stocks for the last 7 days. Another rough performance for Tesla, despite proving robotaxi works and self-driving cars going all over the place. Listening to the mainstream media would just make you laugh. But I'm happy with the low price. It means we can continue to stack at these sub $300 prices, which is wonderful. Remember, the cream will eventually float to the top. Amazon up 4% for the week, Google 4% for the week, Nvidia 5% for the week, Apple 2.4%. Again, everything is on fire, but Tesla is not. Tesla one day will be the most valuable company in the world. You can put that in your pipe and smoke it. Okay, that is what's going to happen. But it's also the most hated asset, and that's why it gets dinged. And also, if heaven forbid Elon Musk says something political, boom, it gets dinged hard. And that's what happened last night. Anyway, are we in Bitcoin season? Yes, we are. Bitcoin score 20. We are still very, very far away from alt season. Let's look at altcoins over the last 90 days, top 50. Hype is still in the lead, but that'll dissipate because all of those gains happened early. And then you got this Bitcoin Cash, which is the fake fork of Bitcoin. Somehow that popped. Weird. Aave, shout out to Aave, 54.7%, Say 49.2%, etc. Say up 50% over the last 90 days. It's funny because I made a video on how undervalued it was compared to SWI, and nobody watched that video. However, people started watching it like a week later, and then the reaction started to happen. So it's kind of interesting to see how that all panned out. And then Bitcoin and Solana right there, neck and neck beside each other. A little black is Bitcoin. But anyway, that's what's happened over the last 90 days. It's been mixed, but we're into July. And shout out to Dennis Porter as well. He believes the real bull run has only just begun. What he's doing here is he's sharing the golden cross on the weekly. I could not replicate this chart even though I tried, but I trust he has it on good authority. I wasn't able to take the 200-week and the 50-week moving averages. Remember, 200 weeks is a lot of time. It's many, many, many years. So 4 years. So I wasn't able to replicate this. But if you do look at it historically, you see we had a golden cross on the weekly, 50, 200 week moving averages, 2015 and 2017. And after that, we had explosive moves. We had them again in 2020, right before 2021, and a very big explosive move, 1,200%. Back in 2017, it was 2,200%. Of course, we're going to get diminishing returns. But if you take that pattern, 2,200 to 1,200, we should get at least 600% from here if this pattern repeats. So far, only up 7%. Could we get a crazy euphoric period? Well, I don't know, but I have some data that maybe could point to something like that. First of all, let's look at one of the key players that's driving the price really high. And this is MicroStrategy. And shout out to Axel as well. The average price for Bitcoin that all their purchases now is about $70,900. And this is a very important metric for a number of reasons. One, it's very close to the realized price of Bitcoin, short-term holder and long-term holder combined. First, and second, you remember the night of the election, November 4th, November 5th, 2024, the price of Bitcoin was just about $70,000. And historically, that price on the election night marks the bottom of the next bear market. Okay? What's important about that? Well, if we do get a bear market again, the floor price could be around 70,000 based on the realized price and based on MicroStrategy realized price and, of course, based on the election night. So it's 3 areas of confidence for the 70K mark. We'll see if it holds. If we get the perpetual bid from treasuries and nation states, who knows? But there's more craziness to show you as well. Bitcoin supply on exchanges. Not saying there's a supply crunch, but pretty clear from this chart here, you can see that the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges is tanking fast. This goes from October 2024 to July 2025. The amount of Bitcoin on exchanges per crypto quant has gone from 3.2 million all the way down to 2.4 million. Now, that may not sound like a lot, but that is pretty much a big truckload. And what I know as well from looking at the stuff since 2017, about 37% of people actually keep their Bitcoin on exchanges. And many of them do that because they don't trust themselves with cold storage, which some would find very dangerous, very antithetical for the whole philosophy of Bitcoin. You know, not your keys, not your wallet, etc., not your coins. But here, a lot of people believe that this, say, 2.36 million Bitcoin that are left on exchanges per crypto quant doesn't necessarily mean it's for sale. It's just they don't do cold storage, which reflects 37% of the people. Of course, that doesn't include whales that do cold storage, big OGs that do cold storage, etc. It's just a typical retail investor, and that's where much of the bags are. So again, 2.3 million, 2.36 million on exchanges doesn't mean it's for sale. But what is important is the amount that it has tanked in the last 9 months, and it's going down fast. So whatever was there, maybe was sold. How much more can it go down without a supply crunch hitting? That remains to be seen. Either way, that is the most dramatic dip I have ever seen in Bitcoin on supply and exchanges over a 9-month period. Do with it as you will. Now, shout out to Jeff Walton too, Punter Jeff. He had this cool little chart, and I love the way he thinks as well. Very in line with the way I like to calculate stuff. I call this Bitcoin scarcity via the Mag 7. So NVIDIA is worth about 36 million Bitcoin, but they don't own any. That's the market cap divided by the Bitcoin price. Call it $3.6 trillion. Mag 7 is worth 168 million Bitcoin. And he says they also have zero Bitcoin. That's not true because Tesla does have some Bitcoin, and that's part of the Mag 7. And MicroStrategy is worth 992,000 Bitcoin, but they hold 592,000. That's the premium you see there in the actual assets. So the reason for this thought experiment is imagine what happens if the Mag 7 decide to deploy and grab some with a little bit of their market cap or their cash on hand, etc. There simply is nowhere near enough Bitcoin to go around. And I find that very interesting to think about. In addition, you've got countries, nation states. Kazakhstan's national bank supports creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve. I like, if anybody knows what that means, and will engage with Parliament to prepare necessary legal framework. Again, nation states are coming, and Kazakhstan has a lot of Bitcoin mining activity as well. A lot of these Chinese miners that were forced to leave China actually went to Kazakhstan. They got cheap energy and a very favorable economy and government and regulations. So who knows? Watch this space. And as I did mention, this slide is slightly out of order. I apologize for that. But research does show that 37.2% of retail and non-whale Bitcoin holders do keep their Bitcoin on exchanges. Call it just over a third. And the rest use cold storage devices. And we'll see if that could happen. So that's the data that's in my head. I forgot to put that slide in order. Let's talk about real world assets, because this was a crazy week in terms of RWA. I'll go through this real fast. First of all, Solana has the most breadth of real world assets across equities and stocks. xStocks hit the news wires everywhere yesterday. You can now trade a meme coin for Tesla or Nvidia or S&P 500 index, etc. Superstate, Ondo, Romero, they're all working all over the world now at the same time. You got private client activities, Maple, Apollo, Hamilton Lane, BlackRock, money market funds, Franklin Templeton, Believe, Solana is the best blockchain out there, VanEck too, Ondo as well, twice. And then you got real estate with Parcel and Homebase, Uranium Digital for commodities, collectibles, and so much more. It's all happening. And this is the beginning. For years, I've been talking about tokenization of everything. Here we are. It's actually as if it's just gone live. So super exciting. And we had day one of tokenized assets. Shout out to Blockworks. They now track the amount traded. Of course, if you look at all tokenized assets, equities, gold, all the actions and actually so far, just about 1.4 million volume yesterday. This is going to go bonkers. This could go to $1 trillion in a very short amount of time. And where will the action happen? Well, you guessed it, Solana. But before we jump into where it's going to happen, this is just a few insights as to Solana's institutional adoption. You got Franklin Templeton, CEO, called Solana one of the first institutionally focused chains. You have 9 new staking ETF applications. One was already approved. It's going live tomorrow. You got the CME Group launched the Solana futures. R3 is now managing $10 million in USD RWAs and have chosen Solana. And then all the major TradFi players have done the same. BlackRock, Biddle, Franklin Templeton, FOBX, VanEck, VBill, for tokenized versions of their money market funds. Okay, this is just reality. People say, oh, TradFi, they're going to use Ethereum. Yeah, no. Okay. And shout out to Marty Party, DCA. He said why Solana L1 is number one for tokenization. He has a post pinned on his Twitter feed, again, from a long time ago. And he talks about how it's not possible to do tokenization on layer 2s. They're not sufficiently decentralized, which means secure, etc. And he also said about $1 trillion is about to enter the Solana ecosystem to xStocks. And again, it's already happening around the world. It's not yet available in the US unless you have a VPN, not VPN advice. But either way, a lot of activity is coming. This is called capital markets on the blockchain. We are here. This is huge. You may not feel it yet, but it will be huge. And a little bit here is tokenization, all good in the hood. This is Robinhood. Robinhood makes tokenized US securities available in 30 countries. I heard reports it's not in Germany yet, but a lot of the other countries all have it too. So that is also big breaking news. And that stock has been on fire. And remember, StocksFi runs on Solana. So players like Kraken, not just Robinhood too, are now allowing you to trade equities 24/7. And the important thing about this, they are fully backed 1-to-1 by real shares. This xStock company is based in Switzerland. Very, very solid financial regulation there. And it was developed by Kraken, but Kraken chose to leverage Solana to do it because of the high speed, low cost, etc., and reliability. And again, this is now running all over the world, and people can pair trade live between whatever you want, whenever you want. It's brilliant. The future is here, and I'm landed, and I'm very excited. And more is happening too. SoFi is now going after international payments with Bitcoin. Their big play is, again, finding a way to undercut the traditional rails, and old banks were very slow and messy to convert Bitcoin to USD and back again to foreign fiat currencies. Again, doing it all using crypto rails, which is massive. And in terms of money flow from Solana floor, nearly $500 million was bridged to Solana from other chains just over the last month, and that's 70% higher than the previous month as well. So a lot of money is going into the Solana ecosystem, and we've only just begun. Okay, all the crypto bros that only ever traded crypto will start trading equities now, and a lot of the equity bros that never traded crypto will start trading crypto as well, and pair trading in between. Everything's a pair. It's going to be fun to watch. And another little piece of interesting news too is Raydium used to smash everybody and control everything, but ORCA is now back on top. ORCA now handles in the last week about 38% of all DEX volume. Raydium about 35.29, and a couple of other names in there as well, doing smaller amounts. But as usual, the winners take most. And the good news for miners. Miners have been on a roll lately. At last, they're getting a breath of life. And I can't pinpoint the exact reason, because Bitcoin went high before and the miners never reacted. But now, per Cynthia Lummis, miners and stakers have been taxed twice. Once when they receive block rewards, and again when they sell their Bitcoin. So they're going to try to stop that double taxation on the Bitcoin miners, which will be very impactful on their financial results as well. And a little bit on MicroStrategy. I found this to be super interesting. If you look at, say, the Stark performance, STRK, I call it Stark, Strike, or whatever it's called, it has gone to the moon. These things are now trading on much more than their actual listed value. And as a result, the yield is falling. STRK has been on a roll. It's up 42% over the last month or two. STRF, number 2, and STRD is new, but still trading at a premium, and therefore the yield is a bit lower than expected. STRD yield is about 11.22% per year. STRF is about 8.83%, and STRK is about 6.61% instead of 8%, because the price is so much higher. Okay, so that's an important double edge to the sword of these MicroStrategy preferred stocks. And in full disclosure, I don't own any of these, but I do own MicroStrategy. As I say, I don't get out of bed for a couple of percent. Anyway, another bit of this actually should have been in the bad news category. I apologize. No man, no fun, as I like to say. Consumer spending has tanked. It's from Kobasi. And this is actually really bad news, because you can see here, this is the worst it has been for many, many years, since 2022. And we know what happened in 2022. And the decline was broad-based: transportation, dining out, accommodation, financial services, foreign travel. People don't have cash anymore. And this also came alongside a 0.4% decrease in personal income. the first since September 2021. So when you hear Jerome Powell saying everything is fine, the economy is great, and jobs are great, and people have money and they're enjoying life, that's BS, everybody. People are squeezed. The interest on loans, on car loans, on buying houses and everything else. Again, everybody's finances are under terrible pressure right now. And this is the canary in the mine right here, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, that's not in the bad news category. And Jerome Powell has been put under a lot of pressure too. But now, good news, by September 2025, there's now a 95% chance of a cut and a 20% chance of 2 cuts. So fingers crossed. We're not sure if we're going to get one in July, and they take the month off. The 420 PhDs take the month of August off. I think they're like school teachers. I hope they enjoy the summer. They get paid very well to not work. But we'll see what happens next. Either way, rate cuts are coming. And that will trigger a nice tailwind. And we know September can be rough, but it can also be good, depending on the actual year. And now, this is the meme du jour, which I thought was very funny. Shout out to somebody who shared it with me. It was cracking me up over this one. So you got a lion behind the fence, and you got this person in the skull cap saying, I know trading is easy. And the markets say, hey, come to me, come inside, let's talk. But this is really very appropriate for what I always say, is if you are not careful, the market will rip your face off. If you are not humble, the market will rip your face off. Respect the markets, okay? It's a blood sport. Just ask the lion. Thank you, everybody, for coming. All these videos are turned into podcasts and emails with every slide and description of everything. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. Thank you once again to everybody for being here, and GQ Trader and Sean D and K8 and TND Tesla and a bottle of red and everybody else. Hope you enjoyed the show. Happy Tuesday. See you tomorrow. Let's hope tomorrow's a better day. July. But by the way, one thing as well, the first 1 to 2 weeks of every new month in crypto tends to always be weak, and then it accelerates towards the end. I don't know why that is this year, but that's the trend. So let's try to get to the next 2 weeks. After that, things should be good. Enjoy yourselves. Travel safe if you're traveling. Bye-bye.